Hi, and welcome to Random Fandom Chats. I'm Dee.
I'm Tanner.
And this is Annabeth. Today we're going to be doing a special, and as the title may have suggested, it's going to be about Padmé and how she deserved so much better in the prequel series, but specifically Revenge of the Sith.
Definitely.
Now, this is going to be a very passionate topic because this is something that her and I specifically have discussed a lot. We even rewatched Revenge of the Sith with the sole purpose of saying, okay, here's where they could have fixed that. This is what they could have done better. So this is going to be a very passionate topic. Now, why don't we start off by saying some of the few things that they did wrong by Padmé in Revenge of the Sith?
Well,
I think one of the things that they did wrong worst was that they pretty much changed her role completely in Revenge of the Sith. In the first two movies, she was a strong, capable leader, a warrior in a lot of ways. She was a politician, compassionate, and she was somebody that you really could have seen being Luke and Leia's mother. You looked at her and you said, oh yeah, that could totally be Luke and Leia's mother, specifically Leia in a lot of ways. And then in Revenge of the Sith, they really just kind of dulled her down and just pretty much made her just this pregnant character who just happened to be carrying the Chosen One's baby, pretty much. And that really made me angry. It's like, she's still a politician, she's still a leader, it doesn't matter that she's pregnant, she could still be this, capable person.
Well, like you had mentioned, one of the first things they mention when she says that she's pregnant was that she would have to step down from the Senate because the Queen wouldn't want her to be in the Senate. And I was like, why?
That makes no sense. You're telling me out of the countless different cultures there would be in this galaxy far, far away that they all have our backwards opinion about women in pregnancy?
Yeah.
It's like,
all of a sudden they're becoming capable of doing anything.
Right? Now it's like, okay, he maybe wanted to bring up the controversy of people, not liking women being pregnant and unmarried because her marriage couldn't be public, but it's still just like, okay, so this is a planet that elects queens at age like 12 and 13, but she can't be unmarried and pregnant and on the Senate? I mean, come on. They had no reason to put that in there. She could have still been a capable leader in the Senate.
Well, and that's the other thing. Mm-hmm. They don't really show her doing any of her senatorial duties except for when basically the Chancellor's running amok and she's like, just sitting there going, oh, well, everything's falling apart now.
She's like, ah, crap. Yep, this is doomsday pretty much for democracy.
Yeah, and it's like, if they had her had more of a role in the Senate, in politics, in what was happening, and had thoughts and ideas and things like that. You had mentioned that you thought that she might have even have started some sort of rebel forces already or some sort of
thing against the Chancellor, because they stated very early on in the movie that the Jedi were already suspicious of the Chancellor and that he was using the war to grab power and keep it for himself, and they were questioning whether or not he would even be willing to relinquish that power after the war. Why wouldn't some of the senators been like that? It's like, Padmé would have totally been like, yeah, I don't really trust that Palpatine guy. We might have been from the same planet, but I think he's just kind of using this war as an excuse to, prop himself up there.
Well, and then that too, you said it would have, maybe she could have had a more of a relationship with Bail Organa, which would have made more sense for how close they would have been and for him doing the resistance and the rebel stuff later on.
Because Bail Organa was one of the main leaders in the start of the rebellion.
And so if they had started something to kind of a movement against
the Chancellor
at this point, that would have made sense, and also would have gave some interesting discussions between her and Anakin.
Right. In almost every scene she was in, she was comforting Anakin, and they were in the apartments, and she was like, no, it's all going to be okay, I'm here for you. I just don't really feel that. I really felt like there should have been a lot more lead up to their falling apart as a couple. And, okay, it was nice to see that they really did care about each other. I think they were trying to fix some of the glaring problems with their romance at that point. But I really wanted to see her seeing him go to the dark side. I would have liked to have seen them having some strife and arguments against, well, he has this opposing opinion of, well, no, the Chancellor wants absolute power because he knows what's best for people. She would have been like, no, that's not how democracy works, and that's not how things should work. And then that would have caused some issues between them. She would have seen him going down this darker path. She would have seen Palpatine manipulating him at that point. And I also think that that also would have contributed to Anakin falling towards the dark side in the first place, because he would have seen her pulling away from him, and he would have been like, no, I am desperately in love with you. I need to keep you by my side, and I can do that through power. So that would have pushed him even more towards the dark side. They still could have had the thing where he was afraid of her dying in childbirth and all that. That could have still been there too, but this could have been an even more contributing factor to him, just going completely down that path, which seems so abrupt in a lot of ways.
Well, we would have seen him starting to follow the ideals and promises and things that the Chancellor was making, where we never really saw that in the film.
Right. One of the things that I really only noticed until one of my real recent rewatches of Revenge of the Sith is that he mostly turned to the dark side because he wanted to save Padmé. But then towards the end, when he's talking to Padmé, all of a sudden he starts spewing these political views about how the Chancellor is right and they need absolute power to control everything and bring peace to the galaxy. And it's like
where'd that come out?
He barely mentioned that in Attack of the Clones once, I think. And it's like, you showed no predisposition towards this political view before that, and now you're just kind of all of a sudden spewing it. It just seemed really awkward to me. I could totally see him having that opinion. It just seemed awkward the way they presented it in the movie.
Well, and even with him being afraid of her dying in childbirth, I could have seen a scene between them. I realize, they want certain things in the movie, and they run time over and all that.
Right.
But there could have been a possible scene where he's really passionate about he can save you.
Right.
And, he can keep you from dying. And she'd be like...
She's like, no, that sounds...
Yeah.
That sounds really fishy, dude. No.
And we could have seen him going kind of lunatic a little bit more. And she would have seen it a little bit more, which would have, led her to pull away from him, like you say, and kind of, pull more away and want to go hide from him and get away and hide the twins and the whole thing. So all that would have made sense. Now that brings
up to possibly the most offensive thing that happened in the prequels whatsoever. I don't care about Jar Jar. I don't even really care about how crappy the CGI was in a lot of ways. The thing that makes me mad most about the prequel series is Padmé dying. That makes zero sense.
No sense.
Okay, so here you have this strong, capable woman who has seen the love of her life go down the dark side. She's seeing the birth of this terrible dictatorial universe coming into place. She gives birth to 2 children and then just dies. I mean, they pretty much say she's lost the will to live, which to me translates she's dying of a broken heart because Anakin is off on the dark side. And she just leaves her children to, fend for themselves pretty much in this horrible universe that's birthing right now.
Which the strong, capable person
that we've seen for the past 2 movies,
I don't think
would not have done that. Yes, I get it. She, feeling that kind of deep love for somebody and seeing them basically betray you at that point, that would be very hard and that would be very heartbreaking. But her love for her children should have been just as great, if not more so. And it also doesn't make any sense because something that you've brought up a long time ago was that in Return of the Jedi, Leia and Luke are talking, and Luke asks Leia, do you remember anything about your birth mother? And she says,
just feelings, images, really. Well, that makes no sense whatsoever, because if she died right after they were born...
She literally looked at them for like 15 seconds, maybe.
She would have hardly any feelings about her mother at all, and whatever she did have, Luke would have had as well, because they saw her for about the same amount of time, or a couple seconds difference.
Now, I've seen people give the argument of, Leia felt her through the Force, but again, Luke would have had those exact same impressions. Why would he even be asking her about that? Or if he did, why wouldn't he say the same thing?
Well, and honestly, it makes more sense that she would have lived for 2 or 3 years after the kids were born.
She could have still hidden from Vader.
Which she would have definitely wanted to do.
They could have faked her death, one thing that I noticed while rewatching Revenge of the Sith was that Palpatine had no way to know if Padmé was actually dead when he tells Vader, "You killed her in your anger." He has no way to know that. It's not like they're making a public announcement saying, "Oh, Padmé's dead."
But it was it would have been great for him to tell him that,
Right.
just to feed his anger.
And it makes sense that he would still do that. And
But she didn't have to really be
she
dead.
didn't have to really be dead. He lies and cheats to people all the time.
Right.
Why would that have been any different?
And that would have been perfect, and that would have made perfect sense that she would go into hiding, she would hide the twins, she would continue or start the leadership towards
the rebellion.
The rebellion against, the Empire and everything. All of that would have led up to that perfectly.
And she still could have died early on.
And she might have been able to see Leia, but because they took Luke to Tatooine, she never got to see him.
She might have been able to see Leia every once in a while, again, because she would have had that connection with Bail. It would have made more sense if Bail had taken her in, if the two of them had really started this rebellion together.
Sure.
I mean,
he could have taken her in from birth, just to say the kids died in childbirth, or whatever.
Right.
They all three, he didn't even know there was twins. He could have said her and the baby died, and it would have been perfect.
Yeah.
And there would have been, so he wouldn't have known his kids were alive, or that he had more than one kid, like he didn't know. He would not have known his wife was alive, and at some point she would have died or could have died during the rebellion.
She could have been killed by a random stormtrooper or what have you.
She could have been doing something important and died on the mission or whatever. Sure, all kinds of things, and that would have made much more sense.
The galaxy is a huge place. If she had died on a mission, there's no reason to think that Vader would have found her or, been able to see her body and be like, oh, she actually lived for a while. Oh, I wonder if my kids are still alive. There was no reason to assume that her living for a couple of years and then dying in the rebellion would have any impact on the whole twins being hidden and Vader never knowing about them thing. There's no reason for that.
And it would have done more justice to her character, of who we expect. Now, there could be an argument that maybe she did not die from a broken heart, as you say, that maybe it was injuries that Anakin did to her.
They said she's lost the will to live. They literally said there is nothing medically wrong with her.
Yeah, we don't know why
we
don't know why she's dying. Which, by saying that, you get the idea of she's giving up.
She's just giving up. She's like, oh, my husband's, bad now. I'm just gonna die.
Which, like you say, I just don't think she would have...
That's not the Padmé we've grown to love over the past two movies, despite how bad they are in general.
Yeah, I thoroughly expected... I remember when I watched it for the first time and I went,
you're like, wait,
she died? Because I thoroughly expected to see her being whisked away somewhere and going into hiding.
I could have totally seen her, Bail, maybe some other senators, Mon Mothma, somebody like that, standing looking out of the galaxy saying, so what do we do now? And she's like, we fight. I could have totally seen just an awesome scene like that. It could still have the ending with Vader and Palpatine looking out the Death Star. In fact, that would have been a brilliant contrast. The rebellion looking out, them looking out at the Death Star. That would have been a great contrast right there.
Awesome.
But no, they decided to just kill her off just because. Just for reasons.
They failed her miserably.
George Lucas, I love you, but you really should have watched your own movies before making these prequels. And you should have done much better by this character. She deserves so much better.
Definitely.
Alrighty. Now, if you guys like this video, please consider giving it a thumbs up. If you like what we do, subscribe. Tell all your friends. Feel free to leave comments below. We'd love to hear your passionate, pleas for this character or other things that the prequels need to be fixed by or what have you.
And check out our other videos and we'll see you next time.
Thank you.